Good morning. Nice to see you here. Others are joining us. They're coming in. They're just coming in with great speed and efficiency, as we knew they would. Anytime you put donuts out, that's a delay tactic, isn't it? So we'll wait just a moment while everybody gathers in. If those of you in the foyer can hear my voice, we would invite you to join ASAP. Hope you've had a good week. Anybody had a really horrible, terrible, awful week? Oh, good. Nobody's had one of those. How many of you had we did have one, but I know a little about that. Everybody had a good week. Yeah, good. And everybody's not paying attention. All right, they're moving this way. We should sing another verse. They're still coming. Well, thank you for being here at this hour. I want to first apologize to all of our Bible study teachers and Sunday school teachers. We did not interrupt the children's Sunday school, but all the rest of our Bible studies have been interrupted today. That's not because they're not important. They're extremely important to the life of the church. And I appreciate so much our teachers who are so faithful and are in their places week after week. And so I appreciate that. And this is a rare time when we interrupt the flow for a meeting like this. We've been talking about, last week, I talked a little bit about where the board has been and what we've been doing in preparation for some kind of renovation. Not necessarily expansion of our facilities, but renovation. And we want to give you that information. Following this meeting and following the service today, there will be renderings. And I want to use a word here, and I want you to say it with me. The word is concept. I'm going to count to 3, and everybody say concept. 1, 2, 3. Concept. You know what concept means, don't you? It means a general idea. So what you're going to see on the renderings and what you're going to see on the screen are not necessarily what it will look like. We've not signed any contract, and we're not ready to sign that until we vote on the 23rd of this month. But we did get some concepts, things that have been done in other churches, some potential ways that things will look. But this is a word you carry with you, concept. In the images of the sanctuary, you'll see chairs. One person told me this week, well, I'm already against it because you're going to put chairs in. No decision has been made about chairs, so get over it. We've not made a decision about that. We're thinking about options. Is that all right to think about options in the church? And so we're thinking about options, and we'll have plenty of time to process that. So don't make up your mind about something that may never happen. The renovation is going to happen, but how it looks will be decided 105 days after the vote is taken, should the vote be positive, then the actual design of the building will be put together. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. I want to have prayer, and then Dave Peterson, who's no stranger to the church when it comes to building and things. He's the one that supervised the redoing of the foyer. And if you like the foyer, Dave's been on the building committee and is kind of leading that committee right now. And so we're privileged to have him here. And he's going to take you through and talk a little bit about the things, the drawings, and then talk a little bit about the financing, the sheet. Did everybody get this sheet when you came in? A fact sheet? Did you get it? Everybody got it? You want to keep that with you. And don't throw it away. Take it home. Don't make a paper airplane out of it and send it out the window of the car. Take it home. Keep it so you can think about it and pray about it. Father, we thank you for the privilege of being here today. We thank you for leading us to the cusp of something new and different, refreshed in the life of Parkview. And so open our hearts today to the information so that we can all make a wise decision on how we feel about this project. We do thank you for all that you plan to do in the life of our church, and we thank you for the opportunity to think together about what we're going to do. So bless these moments, I pray, in the name of Jesus. Amen and amen. Will you need a handheld mic? Or because if you're going to point to that, you're going to point to that? Here comes our runner. Oh, good. There you go. May I present to you today our friend, our champion, Dave Peterson. Would you welcome him this morning?
Thank you, Pastor. I appreciate the opportunity to share and give you all further visibility of what some of the thoughts and concepts that the leadership team here at Parkview has been kind of noodling on over the last number of months. And I feel very fortunate that I was asked to be a part of the group that initially had some of the discussions with the McKnight group earlier this year. And it was very enlightening to be talking to, a consulting firm, a build design firm that truly knows what's going on with design of churches, renovation of churches. And as they brought forth ideas, as we shared what some of our goals and vision was for the church, they shared this is what's happening across, the various churches, not only in Ohio, but across the country. And it's a kind of a really exciting thing to kind of see that vision, because a lot of us, we probably don't get out and visit a lot of other churches very often. And so to see those ideas and concepts of what we could do, what could be a future for Parkview was very exciting. And first of all, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to participate in that. So what we're sharing with you today is, really what we want to do is refresh Parkview Church, rebrand it. How many of you recall when this sanctuary was dedicated and opened up? Maybe a show of hands. Not many. There's a few of you, but not many. Well, this is a time warp of 1982, right here. If you look around, this is what was in style back in 1982. So I think all of us, even in our homes and things, from 1982 to now, you've done refresh. You've changed carpet. You've, changed furnishings. And so that's a lot of what we're trying to do as far as in the refresh, rebranding of the sanctuary and things. The schematic you see here, and I know it's a bit of an eye chart, the colored areas are the areas that would be renovated. So, as Pastor said, out in the lobby, you'll be able to see close-up, copies of these so you can see things in much more detail. But basically, it's the sanctuary areas that we're looking at in the entire children's area. We're not changing the footprint as far as the actual square footage for the church. That still stays the same. But we are looking at renovating about a third of the church. We've got ballpark numbers, 45,000 square feet total in our whole facility. We're talking about renovating a third of it, about 15,000 of it. And you can see the children's area likewise is probably even more dated than the sanctuary, because that's the old part of the church. Yes, we've made some improvements, 15, 20 years ago when we did carpeting and things in the children's sanctuary area, but, we've repainted some things, but as far as making major changes and improvements to enable what we expect today and what families expect as far as the safety and security for our children, these are improvements we need to make so we can provide that, to make an inviting place for our guests, visitors, and future members. So, additionally, you'll see on the concept when you look up close, there is some items that we show as optional. And we've left them on there, again, just to provide kind of a vision, to let you know that we're dreaming bigger than just what we're showing. That's one of the things that, as we went through our exercise of getting to this presentation of what we're sharing with you today, is we were dreaming big. Pastor challenged us to, the sky's the limit. Where do you want to go? What do we want to be? And so you'll see, like in the front of the church there at the bottom of the slide, there's an area that's called indoor playground, but it's listed as optional. That's one of the things that we would like to do in the future. If our fundraising provides it, maybe we'll be able to do it now. But having an indoor playground and then moving an outdoor playground area between that and the children's sanctuary is what that's depicted on the slide. The other optional item you'll see on the detailed slide out in the lobby is updating our carport area where you drive up, expanding it, making it a little more accessible for people coming and going in that area. So without further ado, let me go on to the next slide. These are some of the concepts that Pastor mentioned, and some of the things I want to bring to your attention is that we are looking at, for all the children's area, putting in new windows. So there would be new windows along all the children's classrooms. So that will entail a bit of a facade change on the exterior side of the church facing Far Hills. So many of those windows are in need of repair. They're not very energy efficient, etc. So updating the windows, obviously flooring, and as you can see, some examples of the furnishings and things that we would also be upgrading. About 15% of the budget, and again, on here is the details of the estimated costs that we've come up with so far. About 15% of the budget is for just the furnishings, for children's sanctuary, etc. So, furnishings is a big component of this, is updating and upgrading the furnishings. I want to remind folks, Josh has this text questions. As questions come up today or through the week, jot down this number and text it in. We'll use that as a clearinghouse for assembling and collecting your thoughts and questions. So please take note of that. I don't believe it's on this flyer, so you may want to jot that down. We'll move on to the next slide. So here's just a further example of a concept with some of the types of furnishings that could be utilized. Much like we did in the lobby project, we envision we'll have focus groups of people helping us finalize the design. And we're looking for many of you, especially the younger generation, because that's what we're trying to appeal to, especially in our children's area. So we'll be engaging folks in some of the evaluations, gaining input to determine, what furnishings we want to go with, carpet options and things like that probably as well, or flooring options. So just a heads up that we definitely see this as a, two-way interaction, getting input from many of you in different aspects of this. Let's move on to the next slide. This is an example of how we would update the children's sanctuary. We envision having the children's platform area towards the front of that existing sanctuary, children's sanctuary area towards Far Hills. So it's, shifting it to be in that orientation is what we envision. And this is an example of using the multimedia, with the screens and things. And we envision being able to do some cool things like be able to project different images for themes and things on the wall, like you can see there in the depiction with the tree house and things like that. Technology has changed so much. There's a lot of neat things we can do to really jazz it up and make it flexible for future, themes and programs that we're having versus permanently painting something on a wall. Next slide, please. So we do envision a major change just from outside here to actually lose the classroom as you start heading down towards the children's area. That first classroom to the right, we would be modifying that part of the building to make it a check-in area. And so that would provide the secure check-in for parents and kids. And then that would be kind of the restricted doors. You can see there, the two-sided, or the double door on the left, into our secure area for our children. And so that's what we kind of envision for that area there. Move on to the next slide. So here in the sanctuary, as I mentioned, we definitely are looking at major improvements as far as on the platform area. We will be getting rid of the fixed risers we've had for the choir. We will plan for portable risers that we can use as needed, but it gives us full flexibility here on the platform, and there will be reconfiguration of the platform itself. One of the big changes that we're also making here is expansion of our audio, video, sound room area, where we envision expanding it over, and it'll actually encompass removing that doorway there, but we also hope we can move our video or our camera feed or stuff there versus having it in the back of the sanctuary as it is today. The other change that we envision is adding to the back walls here 3 windows in each of those 2 sections to just bring in and try to connect the lobby and the sanctuary. It'll brighten it up. It'll get some natural light. Plus, it enables people who may be, sitting out in the lobby foyer area to be able to see what's going on in here. Maybe they just kind of want to ease into the worship, and they're finishing their coffee or visiting with somebody. They can kind of see what's going on. Or parents that might have a child that's maybe not behaving, a baby, they can just step out, but they can still see what's going on and listen, on speakers and things out there. So that would be really nice improvement to really brighten us up and change the atmosphere in here with those windows you can see depicted there. As Pastor said, the seating has not been determined, pews, chairs, but one thing we know for sure is we're going to have less seating. And the reason for that is we're going to change the spacing of our pews or chairs to enable people to be able to navigate the aisles better. We feel that we're at a point where, we don't need to have the spacing of our pews and chairs as tight as they are today. We want to make it easier for folks to be able to respond to invitations and come forward, or just navigate to that empty seat, in the middle of the aisle or row and such. So, for some of you, when you sit down, your knees are about up against the pew in front of you. And, so it's hard for people to get in and out to respond to invitations or to egress in and out of a row. The lighting and electric in here, some of you may not realize, it's really dated. It's probably 1982. And we actually have a hard time finding folks that can sufficiently support it anymore. I think everybody realizes with the technology changes, with LED, the electronics and things, we can do so much better with our lighting and electric, and also make sure it's safe. Because today we don't always know if it's going to work, to be totally honest. I think every Sunday we pray that the audio and electric is going to work, the lighting. But we definitely would be looking at updating that. We will be losing these lights. There will be some new kind of lights, don't know what. But again, trying to update and make things appealing. If anybody's interested, I'm sure we'll sell you one of these, to put towards our. I think that's it. Let's go on to the next. I guess that might be the last slide, isn't it, Josh? Or Dave? Okay. So, as Pastor said, a lot of the whys have been depicted in this handout for you today. Take a look at that. There'll be board members and other folks out in the lobby around each of these charts here during the transition to service. Welcome all of you to take a look at those, ask questions. But if you truly have questions you want noted and make sure it gets responded to, text the questions to the number there. The other thing I want to encourage many of you to do, if you haven't done lately, is take a stroll down to the children's area. And don't just navigate the hallway going back like to the Family Life Center. Go all the way down to the Children's Sanctuary, then go beyond to that north hallway. Because I think you guys just take a look and see what many of those kids and staff are dealing with. It's very dated, and it definitely needs a refresh. I think many of you, if you haven't looked down there for a while, you'll be surprised. You're like, oh wow. So I think that's just double check here. Yeah, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. So, Pastor, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Dave. We do have time if anybody wants to take a stroll down. I think we can stroll down without interrupting any of our children's classes and just walk straight down and past the Children's Sanctuary and take a look at that hall. Anybody like to do that? It'll certainly help you if you can do that. Anybody want to do that? There's some right there, okay. Why don't you just kind of gather back there if you want to do that, just right outside. Megan's right back there. Megan, will you take them back and clear the way? We want some of our security people to be back there as well, because we're going to be opening that up for, not because we don't trust you, but we just want to be sure that we're doing that. We do have, here at Parkview, we do have people who've been approved by the board to serve on a security team, and they are here every Sunday, and they are prepared to deal with anything that might take place. It's unlikely that something would take place, but we are on a very busy highway, and we are a prominent location, so we are aware of the dangers that are facing the church these days, and what we need to do to take care of you and your children. We will be able to secure our children's area completely when this is done, so nobody will be allowed down there once the doors are locked except parents, and parents will be accompanied by a worker. So we won't, nobody, it's going to be locked down. And we just have to do that for the protection of children. We've had events in other churches where a couple who's separated, a parent who's not the custodial parent comes in, and somebody knows that parent, and they release the child to the parent, and then the church becomes liable for whatever happens to that child because we didn't take good care of the child. So we have to ramp that up. I know in our church in Olathe, everybody who works in the nursery knows who Patty and I are, but when we had smaller children in the nursery, we couldn't take the kids out of the nursery unless our daughter or son had said, my folks will pick our kids up. we couldn't get them. We just had to stand there and wait until Jesus came, because they would not give us the child. And we have to have that kind of security in churches today, and so we need to do it. The budget you see is about 1.7 something, and that's including re-roofing that whole section of the building. It's, you know, a lot of things have piled up, and so we're trying to get the maximum out of this. And for about 1.8 million, we can do everything that we're envisioning doing, plus the new roofing on that part of the building. Someone mentioned the parking lot, and I told this story several years ago in our church in Olathe. We had a lot that was just really tearing up, and we were going to do something about it, and the board voted to borrow the money, a little over $100,000 to fix a particular area of the lot, and one board member voted against it. And I was kind of surprised at that, and he was a person I really respected. So I called him and I said, why did you vote against paving that lot? He said, I'm not against paving the lot, but I'm against borrowing money to pay the lot, because that's money that'll be taken from ministry. And ministry is more important than a parking lot. He said, you and I can park on gravel and save the nice lot for our guests and senior adults, but we can park on gravel. I said, you're right, we can. So we didn't pave that lot for a while until we got the money to do it. So we want to be sure that we're putting our money in the best places. We do need to do something to our parking lot, but that's not a part of this project. Yet another addition.
Yeah. So there was a couple things that were outlined in the estimated costs that I did want to highlight, although we didn't have slides to support it. One is a new road sign. I think many of you realize our old electric sign had died. There wasn't, money allocated to fix it at the time. But we are including money in this project to update the road sign. We still will be constrained by the same limitations that Kettering has as far as size, the type, etc. But we would definitely have an updated road sign. The other thing I wanted to highlight is some of the heritage items, like, I'm sure there'll be a question raised, what about the stained glass that we, picture that we have back here in the sanctuary? We would retain that. We think we would try to incorporate that heritage item just like we did one from the old church that we have in the lobby. So, we're not looking to lose some of those key things that are some of our legacy and heritage identity.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, bring that up.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. The sign up here is a picture of Jesus, I think, with a child. And what I would envision for that is it being on the wall over by the Children's Welcome Center, backlit like our sign is. So it's a reminder of the significance of children, and that Jesus said, let the little children come to me. They're pretty important. And so that's what we want to do, is make it possible for children to do that. Well, we do have a few minutes. You can text questions, but if anybody has a good question, don't ask about something that we haven't decided on, but you have a question pertaining to what we know we're going to do. Be glad to answer that question. Yes. Not necessarily. Those, again, are just concepts. That's just a way that you can do it. And we do have some larger rooms that could be used like that, groups in a room, but those are just concepts.
Okay, well, so here's the question then, is are you considering the open classroom concept?
We haven't. The question is, are we considering open concepts in the children's? No decision's been made about that. Again, we just have the concepts of the kinds of rooms that could be done, and that'll happen in the focus groups when we actually get into the design of the building as we're going to use it. Yep.
Couple quick ones.
I think we can do that. Yes, I think we can do that. Josh, we can do that, can we not? The question was, can we, is there a place on the website where these questions could go and people could go to the web and they could see the questions and answers? Yeah, okay, yeah, we can do that. So everybody know the question now? I'm sorry, I didn't repeat it, okay? Yes?
Secondly, the state has a certain amount of requirements if we wanted to do, for example, daycare. Is this going to be will this fit in with the state requirements?
Okay, the question is, the state has certain requirements for a daycare. Will the renovation make the building qualify if we chose to do that? The current plans would not. The current plans would make it possible for us to have an after-school program for keeping children and working with children, but I don't think there's a plan right now to do the child care preschool kind of thing. That ratchets up the cost considerably, sprinkling and a lot of other things you have to do for the building at that point. So, but again, that can come up in focus groups when we're talking and thinking. All right, anyone else have a question?
What's the priority, like if you only get so much money, is it children's sanctuary, electrical, or?
All right, the question is, what's our priority? And I think I mentioned that last Sunday. Depending on how much money we raise, the children's area comes first. We'll do the children's area first, and then if we can do anything here, we will. If we can't do what we want to do, we'll find a way to reconfigure our pews to make more room and live with what we have. But our priority is to take care of the children's area. We've done a lot for ourselves as adults. If we'd moved the adults down in that part of the building, it would already be spiffed up. And we've taken care of ourselves, and it's time to take care of our children. That's the priority. Any other questions? I don't think we'll need that. I'm happy to repeat the question. Anyone else have a question? Thank you, though.
I have a non-building question.
Non-building? I'm not sure it fits here, but we'll run the risk and see.
Who's the head of security?
Who's the head of security right now? Ron Speck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With the square footage of the stage change?
The question is, with the square footage of the stage change, it will change some. It would be reconfigured out here. It's going to be enlarged, essentially, when we get rid of the risers. We're going to have a lot more space up here. The space we have is going to be maximized once we do that. We no longer have a large choir. They're no longer up here all through the service, and those days are if they come back, it's going to be quite a while before it does. But right now, those who are singing in the choir are managing standing all the time. We'll have to have smelling salts up there maybe one of these days to help somebody, but so far we've been okay. Yes.
I kind of missed when you were talking about the parking lot. That parking lot to me, looks nasty. I mean, it's not appealing, I guess. So was that parking lot anything to do with this at all?
Oh, the question is, does the parking lot factor into this? And no, it does not. Not at this point. It does not. And I know parking lots are important, but what's happening in the building is more important, and what people find once they get inside is more important than the lot itself. The lot is not negligible, I don't mean that, but it's not a live or die issue. But it sure would look nice if it were all renewed and done well. Any other questions? Yes, back in the back. Wondering about the cross. Which one? The one up there in the current in the concept. It's not there. Now, whether it stays or goes is another issue. If it were to go, it would be repurposed somewhere. Yeah, I'm a big believer. I think a cross should be in the concrete floor right there and never moved, to let us all know that the cross is a pain in the neck. And it's in the way with our lives. You got to work around it. You can't move it and get rid of it, but we don't have one there. We like ours out of the way, both there and generally in our lives. We like it out of the way. Any other questions? Yes, Tim. The question is, do we plan to borrow money or pay cash? Our commitment is not to borrow money long term. We want to raise the money. We will probably have to get a construction loan, and we've already talked to our bank, and I think they're probably ready to help us out. But we do not plan to carry a mortgage long term when this is done, and that's why we haven't signed a contract until we find out how willing we are to do this and to get it done and pay for it. Long-term debt is not a good thing for a church. Anyone else? Yes. Do we own the screen? You know, one of the things we've talked about is that whole back wall would become our screen, and it can be painted in such a way or prepared in such a way that it would be. That screen came from over there, and we have another one here. So this was moved down for the General Assembly service, and we all liked it so well, and we got such positive response from people about it, so we just left it there so far. If you're against it, please keep it to yourself. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yes? In the transition time, while this work is going on, the plan right now would be that all of our children's ministries would be moved here, out front. These 3 rooms would become children's classrooms, nursery, everything would be out there. And children's service would be in the foyer somewhere. That would be their sanctuary. And then the adults would all be down in the Family Life Center in that part of the building. We do have enough classrooms in that area. Some of them have to be cleaned out and washed up and maybe painted, but we have enough classrooms down there to handle all of our adult classes, and we have plenty of room in the gym for worship. I think you've done that before, haven't you? Yeah. Yes, question.
As we go into this and thinking about pledges, I would like to know what the timeline is that we have to pay the pledge.
The question is, when we start taking pledges, is there a timeline? On your pledge cards that you'll get on the 23rd or the 30th, it says, has a place for your name, has a place for your pledge, and whether this is a 1 year or 2 year or 3 year commitment, and then the total that you're pledging. And if you check 3 years, we know that it's going to take you 3 years to pay that off. If you check 1 year, then we know it's going to be a 1 year thing. Someone said to me today, I'm going to make a 1 year commitment, but at the end of the 1 year, I'm going to be in a position to do more, so I'll make another commitment in the second year. So people are going to handle that in different ways, and we understand people's finances are different, so that'll be up to the individual to decide. But the maximum length we'd like is a 3-year commitment. It would, if you'll notice on your sheet, it would be summer of 2024, the end of summer 2024, before we're done, if we get started on time. By the time we do all of the preparation and all the planning and design work, that takes 105 days. And then there's other days for all the permits to come through. So we're a long ways from tearing anything up or making anything different. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
When we come down the front to pray for people, is it always going to stay that way or not?
The question is, will we always have an altar? Yes, we will. There'll always be a place to come and pray. I'm hoping that our altars will be a little higher and with pads, a kneeling rail. There's no need to make altars difficult for people. And there are altars that are more comfortable for people to kneel at and provide an easier way to get up for some of us who have more trouble getting up than we used to. So, which is several of us in the room. I'm not one of them, sort of, kind of. Anyone else? Isn't it wonderful to be in a church where we're looking to the future? We're going to turn our foyer. Right now we have a lot of things from the past, and we've been celebrating our past. And I want to celebrate the past. But I want us to turn our foyer into a forward-looking place. We're leaning into a future. We're building on the past, but we're leaning into a future. We're going someplace. We're headed someplace. We're thankful for the foundation, the sacrifices that have been made for this church to be where she is. But I believe the best days for Parkview Church of the Nazarene are not in the past. I believe they're in the future. And I think this is one big rock in helping us position ourselves to do just that. Any other questions?
Pastor,
Yes.
will there be handicapped doors? Push a button and they open.
That has not been decided. That would be in the focus groups. That's not been something we talked about. It's a good question and a good idea. Right now, we have ushers and greeters that open the doors. I like to be out opening doors, and I tell people, see, it's just like going to Kroger. You walk up and the door opens, and you just walk right in. Yes, question. The question is, do we have a mother's room for crying infants and babies? Yes, we do. It's just down the hall, first door on the right as you go out into the children's area. And we will have a better place when this renovation is done. We also have a place for nursing mothers that is kind of an embarrassment, really. It's just dividers. There's no real privacy. But we will have a place designed for young mothers who are nursing their children where they can have privacy to do so. It's just one of those things that we don't think about. That's why I think it's so important for you to walk down there. Don't be lazy. Walk down there after church. Look around. You need to do that because you'll see a marked difference even in this and there, and a huge difference in out there and down there. And we need to bring everything up to the same quality and level that we have out here. Any other questions? These have been good questions. Thank you. You ready to vote? No, we're not ready to vote. Steve. There's no building out. There are some cosmetic changes that will take place on the old part of the building. They will bring it a little more into more compatibility with this newer area out front and dress it up a little, but no addition. If we were to get to the place, if we were to pledge about $2 million, then we would possibly be able to move forward with an indoor children's playground, which would attach to the children's check-in room. People could go right in there, out of that room, and it could be used. Be a wonderful tool for connecting. A lot of churches have them, and they make them available to the community for birthday parties. It's something that draws people in, allows people to come into the building, feel the heart of the people, and it's just a service to the community. I'm going to talk about serving in the next few minutes, and part of serving is making our building available for the community without a lot of fees attached. Some churches charge for people who are not members to have weddings. I'm just totally opposed to that. I think we're here to serve not just us, but everybody. We would have things that couldn't happen that were not compatible with who we are. But I want the community to be using this facility. They were all, when we had one event, it was cold outside, and the foyer was just jammed with parents and children, and they were eating and playing, and Andrea was pretty worried that something was going to happen. And I said, well, Andrea, this is not a museum. This building is made for people, and if somebody knocks a hole in the wall, we'll just fix it and go on about our business. This is not a museum. This is a building to be used to the glory of God and made available to the community when we can. And we've had some really good discussions about that, how we might have a place that would be inviting for people to come and use for different events. So we had a car wash out here this week for some soccer team. Costs us a little in water, but it buys a lot of goodwill. A lot of people stop in, and the girls who were here are grateful for a place where they could come and have their car washed on a busy street. And it was, they washed the parking lot for us. Pretty cheap for us, wasn't it? Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Are we going to update the appliances in the kitchen where we have things that work sometimes and don't work sometimes? Kind of like some of our people in the church, isn't it? They work sometimes and they don't work at other times. We do. That's an issue of maintenance that we really need to take care of. Dave Sally is still in charge of buildings and grounds. Dave, would you raise your hand so people will know who you are? You might talk to Dave about that. I'm sure he won't. Y'all keep Dave away from me today. Aren't we glad to have them back? They took a month and drove from Chicago to Los Angeles on Route 66. And they just got back. They don't look any older or worn. They look fresh. And so he's ready to tackle anything. Yeah. Any other questions? You know, you're great, and I'm so eager to get to the day when we take the vote, and I'm so eager to begin to see this unfold and to give you an opportunity to make your commitment. We have had a time with what we consider our Bible study teachers, board members, and we're off to a really good start in commitments right now. And if we come through like I think we can, then some of the things that we consider to be optional will be taken off the optional list, and they'll become a reality for us. But we're going to get this done, folks. And in October of 2024, we're going to bring a general superintendent in, and we're going to dedicate this refurbished sanctuary in that children's area to the glory of God. It's going to be a great celebration. Yes. Question? Yes, ma'am. I was raised saying yes, ma'am, to every lady. I can't help myself. Yeah. The question has to do with getting in the building. Out at what is our main entrance, it's uphill. Nearly every church you go in, you have to go up a hill. And the one over here too. What I advise people to do is come in this door right out here. It's kind of flat, and it's not a problem. We talked about leveling that out, putting steps and expanding a porte-cochere out there where 2 lanes of traffic could drive under to drop people off. And when you drop somebody